From our 22 News Broadcast Center, this is 22 News in Focus.
Welcome to 22 News in Focus. I'm Don Shipman. 2020 is a census year, a constitutionally mandated count of the population in the United States and the 5 U.S. territories. Most American homes received a census form in the mail earlier this year. According to the Census Bureau, more than 60% of households have responded. But what about the other 40%? Who are they? And why haven't they filled out their census questionnaire? Today, we're going to be discussing the importance of the census and how it impacts federal aid to local communities and state programs. Joining us now is Michael Moriarty, Executive Director of One Holyoke. So thanks for coming on the program.
Good afternoon. You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
I want to first start with One Holyoke. Give us some background on the organization.
Certainly. So we're based in Holyoke. We're a development corporation. That is a kind of nonprofit that is focused on transforming places, building communities, and improving lives. They exist in urban settings all over the United States. There's over 100 of them in Massachusetts. We are the one CDC certified by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts that's based in the Paper City, where our offices are in the flats of Holyoke, and mostly the way we carry out that work is through housing. We provide affordable housing to several hundred residents of the city. We also create affordable housing. We are a development company, and we engage in a lot of different kinds of community engagement and outreach, focused on everything from the arts to literacy to, in this, what we're talking about today, trying to get a better outcome for the census in 2020 than we've had in recent decades past.
And I want to talk about the census in a moment, but first, tell me a little bit about the history of One Holyoke. So, why was it created?
Sure. So we've been around since 1971. We've got a nearly 50-year legacy, and it was created specifically to provide housing. A lot of our work in the early decades was infilling sections of the Flats neighborhood of Holyoke that had been torn down due to blight or burned down, and we rebuilt the neighborhood with a lot of two-family housing. Our focus has been on creating home ownership, which we've done over 160 times over. We understand that that's a really important wealth-building opportunity for families who otherwise wouldn't have had an opportunity to own their own homes. And we've seen that succeed time and time again. We have a particular approach. We like to build duplexes and sell it to a family. What we find is that because we're selling the homes to folks who are, by definition, living paycheck to paycheck, having that rental property is their solution in times like the economic crisis we're moving into right now, when something might happen to that paycheck. In the 50 years we've been doing this work, we haven't sold a home to a homeowner and seen them lose it to foreclosure, even in the 2008 crisis. So that's been our main work. But we know you can't just build a house and not address the needs of the entire neighborhood. So, we've done work over the years involved in economic development, in civic engagement. And, so again, that's what brought us to a focus on the census this year.
And who does your community actually serve? Who are those homeowners, I suppose? So
we reach the entire community, but our primary focus is in the downtown area, the neighborhoods of the Flats in South Holyoke, downtown in Churchill, where we really focus on our building efforts and on creating the home ownership opportunities. But we do other work that reaches the entire city. For example, we run the Neighborhood Improvement Program, which is a grant program funded by Community Development Block Grant funds from the federal government and provided to us by the city. we offer up to $10,000 for home improvements for households that are at 80% of the average median income in our community. And we've been doing that since 1976. That makes us the oldest continuously running CDGP program in the United States.
So if someone is looking for housing, how do they get in touch with you? Is there a certain criteria that they have to meet in order to get help with housing?
So if it's rental housing, we try to keep very low-priced housing of up to 3 and 4 bedroom apartments for families who are working poor or who have federal support. And so basically you apply like anywhere else, and we tend to be catering to the lower income part of the market in some of the lower income neighborhoods. If you're buying a house, you actually can't buy a house plus unless it's over 80% of the average median income. Your income is below 80% of the average median income. Unfortunately, the scale of what we've been able to do with providing new affordable home ownership is much lower in the last decade because the federal funding we depend on is competitive and is at about half the level it used to be in the earlier years of our work. So there we make it known to the community when we've got a property available, and that happens about once every 18 months on average.
And real briefly, I have about 30 seconds for this segment. Where does the majority of your funding come from? Is it the federal government?
Yeah, that's part of what CDCs do. We marshal together funds. It is mostly on the housing side, federal, but we also receive state funding, for instance, something called the Community Investment Tax Credit that helps us get philanthropic and donor funds to allow us to do work like bringing theater into our high school, which we've done every year, except this one because of the school closures. That's allowed us to build a community center. And so we find funds from a disparate amount of places.
Fantastic. All right, I want to delve into the census, the 2020 census, once we return. You're watching 22 News in Focus. We're back here, 22 News in Focus, and today we are talking about the census, the 2020 census, and its impact on our communities with Michael Moriarty, the executive director of One Holyoke. So, as mentioned earlier, the Census Bureau says that some 40% of households have not reported their census information. Your organization is involved in this initiative to get people counted. So, what role does One Holyoke play in the census initiative?
So we focus with a laser-like attention on the city of Holyoke alone, and in particular, the hard-to-count census tract that we've been monitoring throughout the year, and where we anticipate you would have the lowest rates of response. And that's exactly what's happening. As a matter of fact, overall, the city of Holyoke is right on average. We are at the we are at about the 60% level citywide, 56% really, and that's pretty good for gateway cities in Massachusetts. So we are part of this group of places from Pittsfield to Chelsea and even all the way out to Barnstable that are grouped together as gateway cities that tend to have lower incomes, tend to have higher rates of rental, a lot more of a transient population, and lower voter turnouts. And so, not surprisingly, those are also the places that have, decade after decade, had the lowest returns on the census. We know an undercount is an inequity. These also happen to be the places that need the federal funding the most. And yet, when funds are allocated based on the census, if they're not fully counted, the places that need it the most are less likely to get the full amount of funding they needed. And we felt that that's something that shouldn't happen to Holyoke again. We believe it did happen in a pretty bad way. In the 2010 census, we were counted as a city below 40,000, and that's never been true. We've never there's always 40,000 people. But when you cross those thresholds, when they count about 10,000, you actually lose out on access to some kinds of competitive grants. You get categorized as a kind of place that you really aren't, as a even smaller city than we are, because they block locations together that way. So we felt it was important to step up and have a strategy and get funding to carry it out. And we've been fortunate. We received funds from the Massachusetts Secretary of State. We received additional philanthropic funding from the Massachusetts Census Equity Fund that's enabled us to print a lot of additional literature, bring people on staff who can assist us with tabling events. And of course, then the COVID-19 hit. So we've had to rearrange our strategy somewhat, but not give up on the work that we're doing. And so that's kind of a broad overview of where we're at.
And then there's a committee called Complete Count Committee of Pioneer Valley. That's a part of One Holyoke?
So One Holyoke is a part of the Complete Count Committee. It's kind of the other way around. We're a very active participant. That's been organized through the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, and it's sort of a gathering place where all the different communities can talk about their specific challenges, share ideas, learn where we can access resources. So that's been an invaluable outlet for us to connect. It's also a place where the local representatives of the United States Census Bureau have been very present. And so while we focus exclusively on Holyoke, there's obviously a great deal for us to learn by talking to our neighboring communities, talking to even smaller communities that have challenges that are similar to the specific neighborhoods that we focus on.
So all the neighboring communities, for example, like say Springfield or Chicopee, they have similar organizations that are focused in on the census. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
In fact, each municipality has its own complete count committee that focuses on its town alone. And we're, again, very active in the Holyoke Complete Count Committee that's operated through our planning department.
Which population demographic is considered to be hard to count? You mentioned, Holyoke, a gateway city, transient population. What population is difficult to count?
So we're noticing a couple of things. One is that it's very geographical. We look at the specific census tracts, and all of the United States are broken down into these sub areas. In Holyoke, each census tract has about 2,500 people, and the neighborhoods that they represent, the Flats, Churchill, South Holyoke, all do share some demographic profiles. They have many, many more people that rent own. That means people move around a lot more. In Holyoke, they are primarily Latino and overwhelmingly from Puerto Rico. And so that tends to be communities of color are more difficult to count. We think there are some very specific reasons for that and beyond the transiency issue. One of them is an issue of trust. In other Latino communities, people are very concerned about their citizenship status. But in Holyoke, because we are so overwhelmingly Puerto Rican, that's a non-issue because Puerto Ricans are United States citizens. However, very often it's due to poverty as well. And so people in poor communities help one another out by letting people live in their apartments, and that's called doubling up. Their leases don't necessarily allow that. That doesn't make people very to a government representative about something that might be a lease violation. We have to work hard to get the word out. Well, the Census Bureau is never going to share this information with your landlord. If you're receiving a Section 8 subsidy, that's never going to be shared with HUD or anyone else managing that stuff. In fact, that's illegal. But people aren't necessarily persuaded about that. So a part of our strategy has been, before the census even started, we ran job fairs in our community center and did a lot of outreach specifically within those neighborhoods and those census tracts to try to hire people that live right in the neighborhood, people who are Latino, people who speak Spanish, people who are known to their neighbors, so that they could be the enumerators that are knocking on the door. And that helps build that bond and that trust, so that when they tell people the facts and the law about not sharing, it's more likely to be believed. It's more likely to be trusted. So we ran about half a dozen of those job fairs. We've kept track and contact with some of the people who received those jobs. And if it had not been for COVID-19, we would now be approaching the last month of our role in all of this, which was to connect with our own independent staff to knock on doors, drop flyers, let them know that the enumerators are coming, use the data that we do follow regularly to know which places are having the biggest difficulty, and really target those folks and work with the Census Bureau. The challenge we have now is it's only in this week and the week upcoming that the enumerators are being enabled to actually come out and do anything. So the strategy has been disrupted somewhat, and we've used some of our resources a little bit differently than we originally planned.
All right, we'll talk a little bit more about that, COVID-19 specifically, also the benefits of being counted. You're watching 22 News in Focus. You're watching 22 News in Focus. Today we're talking about the 2020 census with Michael Moriarty, the executive director of One Holyoke. So you mentioned COVID-19, and you had said that at this point in the census count, you would have actual census workers going door to door. COVID-19 has changed all of that. Are they able to go door to door at this point?
So far, no.
So how do you plan to get that other 40%? Because that is, from what I understand, those census workers who are going door to door, it's their job to get that 40% who haven't done it online or sent in the form via the mail.
Right. That's absolutely true. In some ways, this may be a bit of luck this year. The first time the census is online and digital. We're learning a lot about the problems with the digital divide that still exists in our urban inner city. But even while that's true, people are relying on online for so much more in their lives right now than they ever were before, which may be helping increase the comfort level and may help explain why Holyoke is actually not too far behind the national average overall right now. But meanwhile, focus on a place like South Holyoke, which is, as of yesterday, at just under 35% of a response. That's a big problem. That's a significant undercount in Holyoke's poorest neighborhood. And so that's not going to happen digitally. So one thing the Census Bureau is doing is extending their time frame. Constitutionally, they have to get it done this year. They can't extend beyond 2020. But some of the mechanics of this can go out into the summer and even the fall, and Congress is working on adjusting some of those deadlines. We're getting updates on a regular basis. The enumerators will go out, and so the time frame's been affected, but the work hasn't been removed. But in the meantime, we also wanted to have what are called questionnaire assistance centers, where if you didn't know how to deal with the census online, or the questions didn't make sense to you, or a language barrier was causing an issue, we could have people available to assist. We're still going to do that. That's just going to come on later than we anticipated. And then I think the final thing is we've got a new innovation that we weren't planning on doing, which is digital phone banking. And because we have relationships with a lot of other property managers, because we are one, we're using that contact information and some scripted outreach to go directly to South Holyoke. And we'll probably go into other neighborhoods like Churchill and downtown as we watch how they're doing. Those neighborhoods are responding at a somewhat better level in the 40% area. So we're going to target the places that are lagging the farthest behind. People will be getting phone calls, with some outreach, trying to get some ask them if there's some assistance we can render. And we're hoping that's going to be one way people will be more mindful that they still need to do this, that they still can do this, and that there will be an uptick in the responses during the month of June as we execute this mobile phone bank plan.
This program right here, 22 News in Focus, is outreach as well in many respects. What if someone at home is watching this program right now and they've changed their mind? They say, you know what, I do want to fill out the census, but I've thrown out the form. And where do they go now at this point if they've thrown out that form and they've changed their mind and they want to fill it out?
So, first and foremost, if you have access to the internet, go to 2020.gov, and you can respond online on the spot. You'll go through a questionnaire process that'll help you identify by the address that you got that letter. But also, you can call to One Holyoke CDC at 533-7101. Our community engagement director, Nairobi Soriana Rosa, will be very happy to get back to you and work it out with you to get you a paper response if that's most helpful, to answer any questions that might have been a barrier beforehand. So in the city of Holyoke, we're most happy to do that. We also know WWLP goes well beyond the city of Holyoke, so we would encourage you as well to reach out to your local planning department or to your local complete count committee. And, there will be people there who will be responding to you and help you get what you need. But there's a lot of time left to respond to the census. If you're, and by the way, we also want to put to rest certain myths. Some people think when they respond to their city census, they're all done. They're two different things. Some people think your tax return took care of this.
That's very different, and I appreciate you pointing that out. We're going to have the final word as soon as we return. All right, that is our program. We've been talking about the 2020 census with Michael Moriarty, the Executive Director of One Holyoke. I want to thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
And that is the program. If you missed it, you can go online at wwlp.com and check it out in its entirety. From all of us here, have a good day.